For the final time this season, the drivers of the World Touring Car Series will head to the track to decide who is going to be the champions of this series. It's the end of Season 4 of the World Touring Car Series here on RaceSpotTV. Paul Smith and Conor Ramadic here for all the action, coming to you from the Silverstone National layout, the shorter layout here, Connery. It's going to be a real challenge for these drivers tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. We've already got, having a little look at the qualifying times, the entire field almost within half a second from top to bottom. So it's going to be a very, very close run affair, and it's exactly what we want for the final round of the season.
There you see, we started all the way back in July. We're now here, October the 26th, for this championship finale. And, well, the championships couldn't be closer, really. It's just 34 points separating Ross McFarlane for Pure Sims Esports over the Was Cooking by CSS driver of Jack Sedgwick. So Andrei Setsos has brought himself a little bit back into this championship fight, just 74 points over the championship leader. David Baker and Damien Harris are still mathematically within a shout, although Damien Harris isn't here today. The rest, Wojciech Sabinovic, Jake Blackall, Dan Martin, Stefan Scheller and Tim Reinhardt in the top 10 of Pro. Though, this is incredibly close, just 9 points separate the Impulse Racing driver of Andreas Gilman and Craig Williams, the Was Cooking by CSS driver. RD Sim Sports' Martin Shirley is mathematically still within a shout, but it's 204 points behind championship leader. Andy Shield, fourth ahead of Stuart Bickley, Magic Sakovic, Damon Mulqueen, Slavomir Jaworski, Elliot Roberts and Mikey Pollard for the top 10. Teams Championships, they are all done and dusted, and it's congratulations for Pure Sims Esports, who are the winners of the Pro Championship, Teams Championship. Semper Racing, RD SimSport, Wave Italy, Cala Esports and Fast Repair Motorsport are the six there. And then in AM, it is Was Cooking by CSS, who've sewn up that championship by 860 points over Was Cooking Racing Adventures. 3M UK, Impulse Racing, AI Race Summaries, Yellow and Blue, and then also the Team Mad right at the back there of those teams. Well, without a further ado, let us take you through your starting grid here for round number 34 of this championship. And it's, well, it's first blood to Ross McFarlane, the Pure Sims Esports driver, finds himself not only at the top of Pro in the championship, but he's at the very front of the grid. Alongside him on row number 1 is Wojciech Sabinovic. He could be a thorn in the side of somebody here tonight. Jack Sedgwick, each main championship contender in Pro, is in second row, third place with Dan Martin alongside him. Andrei Setsos and David Baker are sharing row number 3. Row 4, and it's the two AM Championship protagonists. Remember, just 9 points separate these two, of Craig Williams and Andreas Gilman. Jake Blackall and Damon Mulqueen share row number 5. And then the final row of the grid, oh no, sorry, not the final row of the grid, Martin Shirley and Andy Shield on row number 6. There's one driver at the back, Magic Sakovic, and you can see those times just over half a second separating the 13 cars on the grid here. Connery, we've got the first of 3 races here. Drivers are getting themselves set up on the grid. It's important for those championship protagonists to not get involved in anything silly, but also to get points at this in this first race especially.
Yeah, absolutely, but it's going to be so tricky to do at a circuit such as this one, where everyone is so equal, so short, and you know, potentially everyone's going to keep themselves very, very close together in a big battle pack. So it'll be interesting to see how these drivers negotiate the situation, especially when it's basically all on the line for the two championships.
Well, We are set then for round number 34 of the World Touring Car Series Season 4. Drivers rev the engines for the start. It's a very long hold here at Silverstone, but the green flag is out, and away we go. Not the best start from Ross McFarlane on pole. Here comes Jack Sedgwick in that Audi around the outside of Cobb's corner. He's going to take the lead. This is absolutely sensational start from Jack Sedgwick. We know that that Audi is a rocket ship off of the line, and my goodness, that was a cracking start, but McFarlane has been caught out by Wojciech Savinovic, and if he's not careful, Sindre Setsos is going to get involved in this one. Everybody's clean through the first couple of corners, heading down towards Brooklands for the first time. The last thing that Ross McFarlane needs to do here is panic. He doesn't need to make any rash moves because he has got that 34-point lead in the championship. Craig Williams has as well made a lightning start in his Audi. He's gained a place up into 6th place, so he's got a car separating between him and Andreas Gilman. These two championships on the line, and well, what a start, Connery, from Jack Sedgwick.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. He just breezed his way through up in towards the race leads. It seemed like everyone else was basically standing still. Of course, with that 3-wide situation for P1, everyone respectful enough to give each other enough space, but Sedgwick with the momentum and with the early advantage. Of course, he would love to have more cars in between himself and McFarlane here at the moment, but he still did all that he needed to do on that race start.
Yeah, and remember, it's all about the championship points here, and it's all about just getting whatever you can, and it's 75 points for a race win. Third place where Ross McFarlane is right now, 69 points. So Jack would be gaining 6 points in the championship off of Ross. That would take him to 28 points behind. You've alluded to it there, Connery. That's not really a big enough amount to be gaining in the pro standings at this in this first race.
No, it isn't, and well, the big concern for Sedgwick here at the moment is Savinovic is actually looking pretty racy at this stage, and just look how close they follow through on each other through there. It's going to be very stacked up here for this race lead. Savinovic almost pressing the back bumper in towards Sedgwick as they head their way through, so yeah, this has all the potential to change up here very, very quickly indeed. The front half of the field definitely keeping themselves within the same postcode.
Oh my goodness, Andreas Gilman's got himself a slowdown penalty. That is not going to help his AM Championship fight. He's been just having that lead just whittled away in the last few rounds. He's dropped behind Jake Blackhall now. Martin Shirley was in the form with a slowdown penalty. So even around this Silverstone track, it is easy to pick those up. That drops Gilman down to 9th place. And that will mean that Sedgwick, if he finishes where he is, he gains 6 points. That would only put 3 points separating the AM Championship contenders going into the second race of tonight, if things stay as they are.
Yeah, that's exactly what Williams wanted to see. However, speaking of, he is in the fight with Dan Martin here at the moment. Martin looking his way down the inside here. The RD Sim Sport car in the black and the purple. It's a pretty good livery if you ask me, but as they head their way down the straight now, it's I think Williams has just lost a little bit of momentum here. Of course, that Audi does have a lot of grunt, so when we get to these straight bits of road, it does hold the advantage. But Williams actually just going to sit in behind Martin here, and not really complain too much about the pass.
That Honda is such a good chassis that you can carry the speed out of the corners, compared to the Audi, which just has to wait that little bit longer before it gets on the power. You're absolutely right, Connery. It's got the grunt as that Audi, but that Honda just has a superior chassis, and I think that's what we're seeing at the front of the field as well, with Savinovic looking at the back of your race leader Jack Sedgwick. Sedgwick is going to have to put on a great defensive display, but if anybody can do it, it is Jack Sedgwick in that Was Cooking by CSS car.
Yeah, definitely one of the more firm defenders in this series. It's great to see him at work, but Savinovic, of course, he's come back into a little bit of form this season compared to last, that's for sure. fighting inside these podium positions, just like he did in the early seasons of the championship. But the back end's got a bit loose there for him. And now it's McFarlane that snuck up underneath, and Setsos also picks that one up too.
The way the car behaved then had the tellings of a slight touch. A slight touch and the back end go out. And if anything, Ross McFarlane cannot afford to get himself involved with any post-event penalties. I'm not saying that that will get protested, but certainly it looked like there was a little slightest of touches, and there he is. He's going for a gap that's always closing. There is Ross. As hard as it would be, you'd be wanting that position redressed.
Yeah, I think so too. But of course, the longer you leave it, the worse it's going to be. And the last thing you want in this situation, if you're one of these drivers in a championship fight, is to have the championship decided by a steward's decision post-race, of course. So that's a sketchy one, but it's one that we have to now keep in mind, Paul, when we're talking about points.
Well, it does depend on if it ends up being, first of all, protested in the first place, because if something happens on lap 1, it's automatically looked at. But anything after lap 1, drivers have got to put a protest in. So it's got to be, if Wojciech Savinovic did put a protest in after the event, then it would be looked at. And just having a look at the penalty sheet, and it would be 20 points that would be lost. That's a big chunk of points if the stewards did find him guilty. I'm not saying that they would, but it's an if.
Yeah, it is a very big if, and yeah, so we'll have to wait for that one to be decided, of course. But as these guys head their way through now, Setsos briefly came under a little bit of pressure there from Savinovic, as Savinovic is trying to work his way back up to the fields, back up towards the front, and then well, we'll see how far he gets up here. But we've got less than 13 minutes left remaining in this first race, of course. As with every other week, this final week doesn't change in this respect. We have the 3 20-minute races that we have to run here in this one. As you can see, Dan Martin going very, very wide, coming out of the cops. That's not ideal, and of course you've got to be careful about those instant points, because also have a championship point penalty associated with them if you get them too much.
Yeah, absolutely. There are allowed 5. You got 5, they're in your pocket, but then for every 2 incidents after that buffer, you drop a championship point. So you've got to be careful with that and accumulating championship, having points taken off of your championship here. So drivers coming out of Luffield once again. There's Wojciech Savinovic. Now, interestingly, Jake Blackhall has dropped behind Andreas Gilman. That's important for the AM Championship, because Gilman now is in 8th place and he's behind, well, there's a bit of a gap, but he's behind Craig Williams now. So Blackhall must have made a mistake at some point, but what that does mean is now that Gilman's only losing out 2 points to Craig Williams at this stage, as things stand.
Yeah, just that little bit helps, doesn't it? And if he can get himself locked onto the back of Williams here, that would also be beneficial to try and go for the YAM class win instead here in this race 1. That would be a much more comfortable position for him heading in towards race 2, to be able to extend that championship lead, that very slender championship lead that he has at this moment in time. But you can see Blackhall, I think he's not giving this one up just yet.
Oh, no, absolutely not. And that's the nature of Jake Blackhall. He will fight all the way to the end of a race. Further down the order, Andy Shield has lost a place to Maciej Sakovic. Shield's looking to get that back in the Cops, but, well, according to a certain F1 team manager, you can't make an overtake at Cops, so you'll have to all go one after the other. It's getting close at the front of your field as well, between your 2 Pro Championship protagonists. Ross McFarlane seems to have the quicker car right now over Jack Sedgwick in that was cooking by CSS car. defensive line into Brooklands, Ross, he can afford to be patient. He can afford to just sit behind Jack right here.
Yeah, there's really no pressure to make this move unless he's worried about Setsource behind. That's just the situation there, because if Setsource feels like he's getting stuck up behind McFarland because McFarland's refusing to make the move on Jack, then Sindre might take that as an opportunity to try and to basically get the crowbar out and pry his way through. That's the reality of the situation. He's not just going to sit there in third place, no matter how happy McFarland is well, happy to do it for second.
Well, yeah, I mean, Sindre Setsource was an outside shot of the championship in Pro, 74 points behind coming into this week of the championship. So, yeah, he was somebody who had an opportunity. Yes, he had needed a bit of luck to go his way. Now, an important mark we have just gone over as McFarland looks to the outside, and Setsource throwing a move to the inside now. Does Cedric hold up McFarland to try and help Setsource come through? Well, that doesn't quite work for Setsource, and now here comes Wojciech Savinovic on Sindre. But Sindre Setsource, you were right, Connery, he's putting the pressure on Ross McFarland here.
Yeah, it's allowed Jack to get away a little bit by a couple of tenths of a second. Here comes Sindre Setsource to the inside through Copse Corner, wheel to wheel through the fastest corner on the circuit, as they're all able to get their way through there. McFarland still has a nose ahead here for the moment, but they'll continue the battle in towards Merkins and Beckett. So Setsource having the inside here will be a bigger advantage than it would be on the Grand Prix circuit, because they swing their way onto the Wellington Straight, and Setsource does get himself ahead.
McFarland's still there though, he's still loitering. Here comes Wojciech Savinovic in his Honda Civic. And Setsource going to the defensive line on McFarland. He's trying to encourage Wojciech to come around the outside there. It's not going to work, and he's backing them up. Oh, Savinovic has got the nose in there on McFarland. But don't forget that earlier on in this race there was contact between the two of them at Lowfield. So McFarland is in a very, very difficult situation, because he doesn't want to hemorrhage points, but at the same point he also doesn't want to get in trouble here. Into Copse Corner once again. Oh, David Baker's now getting involved in his Honda Civic, the Pure Sims driver. This is fantastic stuff, and this is only the first race of the evening.
Yeah, Savinovic not quite making progress around the outside there. He's just going to have to try and fight in the later part of this complex. Instead, as they spit back out onto the Wellington Straight, it's just such a fast lap time here. We're doing just over a minute in terms of line to line here. So let's get ourselves on the brakes, into the breakers, and they come. There we go. There's Savinovic down the inside over McFarland. McFarland going to try and fight it back on the outside, gives him the inside for Luffield, which is the more ideal place to be. But Savinovic is really trying to fight for grip on the outside there, keep himself ahead of Baker ideally, as Baker gives him the bumper.
Oh my goodness, this is tense stuff here in the opening race, and don't forget, we've got 2 more races to come for you. One point that I was going to quickly make is we're past the halfway point, so you do score points if you get your car to half distance. So no matter what happens here, all these drivers, if one of them ends up out the race, they will finish with 13th place points. So it's not the end of the world if there is an incident where they end up out the race. They do still score points at that point now. So heading down the Wellington Straight now once again. Just a little bit of a gap between McFarland and Savinovic now. I think McFarland's just stemmed the bleeding a little bit there. He looked a little bit flustered for a little while there, Connery.
Yeah, that's a tricky thing about this circuit, because you can go very quickly from offense to defense. That's just the situation there, because if you get caught offline through some of these complexes, especially through Maggots and Beckett's, then you're going to have the freight train come through on you basically, and you're having to make your car pretty wide. But everything is, like you said, calmed down just that little bit now. The front couple have stretched themselves out just a bit. Cedric leads from Setsource from McFarland here for the moment. As Cedric has run a quite well-managed race there at the very front of the field, as everything kind of has happened behind him.
Yeah, Setsource, you can imagine, would be quite happy to just be rear gunner, although with us was cooking Racing Adventures teams and also the Craig Setup Shop team.
Yeah.
There's no team orders there in those teams. We've seen it all the way through the season, so I would imagine that SetSource, you give him a sniff of a win, he might go for it, you know.
I mean, he's definitely been one of the more aggressive drivers that we've seen this season. So I definitely wouldn't put it past him to try and have a little bit of a go on Cedric if he gets close enough here, but he really isn't at the moment. He's only 5.5 tenths of a second behind, which under any other circumstance we'd say is close. But given, again, we only have a minute lap times here, it's a bit of a rift between the two of them.
Well, basically the gap between first and second right now is all that separated the grid.
Yeah.
So you've got a visual representation of just how close all 13 drivers were in qualifying as they head down at Wellington Straight, once again, of course, named after the Wellington Bombers. This was a bomber command training post with Silverstone during the Second World War. It was the Wellington Bombers that were used here to give them some training before they headed off down. Weston-super-Mare was one of the places where the Wellington Bombers were based. As we go through, Woodcote once again across the line. Another lap in the books. Jack Sedgwick leads by 0.6 of a second over Sindra SetSource, who's gained 3 places in this race. McFarlane then down 2 places to third with Savinovic behind him. David Baker's up a place, up into 5th ahead of Dan Martin. And then it's the first of your AM drivers, Craig Williams, in 7th place. He is, about 2, nearly 3 seconds clear of Andreas Gilman, who is actually under some pressure right now from Jake Blackall. So Blackall's fighting back. Dan Martin's having a look on David Baker. With 3 minutes to go here, Connery, business is starting to pick up.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of places to look at for the very end of this event as we briefly go away there, as we had the little bit of attempt from Blackall, but it really didn't result in anything there over Gilman. So that battle will continue into these final couple of laps that we have to run here. Gap for the race leaders extended 6.5 tenths of a second here at the moment, so I don't think, pending any mistakes, that Cedric's going to be caught here by the time we have the end of this race. I think it might just be a battle for P2 between SetSource, McFarlane, and, well, we can count Savinovic in it as well. Yeah,
Savinovic, Baker and McFarlane were all under 1 minute on their last lap. In fact, it was each of their respective fastest lap of the race. Sindra SetSource was just over a minute, so it was about 1.5, 2 tenths that was caught up here. And we've got a train of cars behind SetSource right now. And we're only going to have about 2 laps to go at the line, because with 2 minutes remaining in this race, Jack Sedgwick is just going to cross the line. He's now got an 0.8 of a second lead. SetSource is starting to look in his mirrors right now here. That's going to give McFarlane the opportunity to be able to attack here down into Copse Corner. That's not the place that you do it. It's the run through Maggots into Beckett's where you can try it. McFarlane runs out wide. He's trying to carry as much speed as possible in towards Maggots and Beckett's. Onto the brakes. That Veloster isn't the most stable under braking, Connery, so that makes it a bit tricky.
It does make it very, very difficult indeed. But we'll see how the difference is sort of sort itself out here into these final couple of laps. We've got SetSource, no defense here, just secure in his position at the moment, despite how close McFarlane is behind. And McFarlane definitely going to go for this here on towards the final lap. That is for certain. It's just a matter of what configuration this group behind the race leader is going to come across the line in.
SetSource was parking the car in the apex through Luffield. He was trying to slow Ross, trying to stop him from being able to get the run off of Luffield through Woodcote, down the start and finish straight into Copse Corner for the final time. Here we go then, on board with Ross McFarlane for Pure Sims Esports. He's your Pro Championship leader. He doesn't need to make the move. Almost contact between the two of them there, as they go through the right-hander at Beckett's now, down the Wellington Straight, and look at that Audi. The grunt of that Audi just able to initially just pull away from the Hyundai Veloster that we're on board with. McFarlane, if I'm McFarlane, I'm just staying behind right now. I'm thinking long game, championship points, but no! This is the reason why he's a champion of past seasons. Through the field for the final time, Jack Sedgwick will get the race victory here in round 34 of the World Touring Car Series. He's your winner for the Was Cooking by CSS team. And as quick as that, Setsource, McFarlane, Savinovic, Baker and Martin, with Craig Williams, your top AM, in 7th place. Andreas Gilman, the AM Championship leader, 8th place, right behind. And that is going to be a change of 2 points between the two of those. That should be 7-point gap between the two of those. But Jack Sedgwick, well, he's done all that he could do, really. Get himself a great start and then get himself to the lead.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a lightning start for Jack Sedgwick. We might got the opportunity to have a little bit of a look at it once we get through the race results here. But what a performance from that Audi, the number 10. Jack Sedgwick doing all that he needs to do, all that was asked of him in this race. Of course, we've got 2 more races to go in this season. It's still an uphill battle for Sedgwick, but I guess that's the first step, right?
Well, I mean, he's doing all that he can. That's the thing. Now, we are going to have full reverse grids here. There's no spin of the wheel tonight. Because of the size of the grid, the championship admins have decided it's going to be a full reverse grid. So what that does mean is that Ross McFarlane will be starting ahead of Jack Sedgwick once again. But it is Jack Sedgwick for What's Cooking by CSS, who's your race winner in his Audi RS3 LMS TCR. Sindra Setsource and Ross McFarlane then 2nd and 3rd places respectively. Wojciech Savinovic 4th after his contact when he was in 2nd place for a while in that race. Contact between him and Ross McFarlane. That could have connotations post-event. David Baker ahead of Dan Martin, 5th and 6th place. Your top AM, Craig Williams for What's Cooking by CSS, is the winner in 7th place overall. He finishes just 1 place ahead of his championship rival Impulse Racing's Andreas Gilman in 8th place. Jack Blackall was not able to get that place from Andreas at the end. He finishes 9th. Ahead of your podium sitter in AM, Damon Mulqueen, 10th place. 11th for Maciej Sakovic with Andy Shield and Martin Shirley rounding out the 13 cars, and every single one of them finishing the race within 13.5 seconds of your race leader. That shows you how close it is around here at this venue, and here is the start of that race.
Yeah, just on board here with Jack Sedgwick. Look at that launch, and it was a very, very poor start from the very front of the field as well from McFarlane. That kind of exacerbated the issues. It was a combination of a characteristically good start for Sedgwick and an uncharacteristically bad start for McFarlane.
Yeah, I mean, McFarlane straight away went on the defensive, moved across to the inside to try and stop Wojciech Savinovic, and that just opened the door for his championship rival of Jack Sedgwick. So, yeah, it was really intriguing to see how that happened between the two of them. So, yeah, certainly Jack Sedgwick, we'll have a look again from above, and you just look at how Sedgwick just pulls up alongside. He had to have the faith, though, there that the guys on the inside were going to give him space as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That was never going to be a guarantee, especially when you consider that this is the final race of the season and everyone's trying to race for every single position possible. Again, you're having to trust mostly there in Savinovic on the inside, because he might not have necessarily expected for Sedgwick to carry as much speed around the outside there as he did. And also, you saw that Sedgwick kind of cut in a little bit towards the apex through the sort of second, third of the corner, basically into where McFarlane would have been if they weren't three wide. So that is good heads-up driving by not just Sedgwick, but kind of all three of them, really.
Yeah, great stuff for them. Now, as far as I'm aware, the series admins have said that they're going to be updating the points. They haven't updated yet on my screen. I'll be looking and refreshing the page on the side here as we're waiting for the second race of the evening. But wow, I mean, these drivers there, they showed that when they're in the mood, when they want to, they can produce some fantastic racing here. A full reverse grid we're guaranteed for races 2 and 3. Be interesting to see how the drivers come through the field in these next 2 races.
Yeah, it's going to be the main pinch point for these guys because they know it's going to be full reverse grids all the time now. So maybe if you're towards the back of the field, you can game that a little bit in these final 2 races, because obviously you know exactly what the reverse grid place is going to be. It's going to be dead last. But yeah, we'll have to see. It's maximum damage for those guys that finish at the very front, though. But at least they can prepare for that going in, and they're not having to have their days made worse by the random number generator. So we'll have to see. Of course, it's going to be in terms of reverse grid pole, it's going to be Martin Shirley, isn't it? Yes, because he finished on the leading lap. So yeah, that's we've seen Shirley in this position before. He last couple of times probably got freight trained a little bit. So we'll see. Have to see how it's going to happen here. I think the benefit for him is that the field is so close. The lap time delta is not that much between all the drivers. So I think he probably has a better chance here than he did in his previous reverse grid poles, I guess.
Points have been updated, I can tell you them. So, in your Pro Championship battle between Ross McFarlane and Jack Sedgwick, it's now 28 points separating the 2 of those. In your AM Championship, it's, as I thought, 7 points now is the difference between Andreas Gilman and Craig Williams. Now, Gilman's going to be starting in front of Williams this time. The problem for him is the launch that those Audis can get. They are rocket ships off of the line.
Yeah, they really are. And if they can get a couple of positions, done on the first lap of things, just from a great start, because we saw how well it worked for Sedgwick at the front of the field last time. If they can get disposed of a couple of cars, put a couple of cars in between themselves and their closest rivals, and have a bit of an easier time getting through the field, then if you're an Audi driver in this one, this is looking like a pretty good event. But I think it kind of relies on getting that good start, because it's never a guarantee. Of course, there's still a bit of driver skill involved in getting those good launches, no matter what car you drive. But yeah, it's all about the execution, and of course keeping you out of trouble as well, because you'll have slower drivers to try and get through on.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be an intriguing second race of the evening for these drivers. And we've not even really touched on Gilman and Williams. I mean, Williams was making some moves again. It was a good start over Dan Martin, got ahead of him, but Martin was able to come back, and I think Williams was canny to think, there's not that big a gap between me and Gilman in championship. I don't need to fight for this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sensible decision. Let's just say that, and to be able to do that, the highest pressure part of the season, shall we say, is actually, it says a lot about him as a driver to try and keep that clear head and make those sensible decisions at the time, because of course we know racing drivers, if they see they're in the process of losing a position, they generally want to fight it as long as it's not a teammate. So it's so yes, great decision making, and lands him in good stead for these next 2 races, but it's still a bit too close for comfort. Right,
well, we will just step aside for just a few moments to hear from the series sponsors. But coming up is round number 35 of the World Touring Car Series here on RaceSpotTV. Well then, here we are, just 2 more races to go here in the World Touring Car Series, and what a finale this proves to be here. Just 28 points separating Ross McFarlane and Jack Sedgwick in the Pro standings, 7 points separating Andreas Gilman and Craig Williams in the AM standings. Now, Connery, I mean, I've been involved in the odd championship fight in touring cars, and I've always come off either as second best or third best in an AM championship fight. What sort of pressure is your championship leader Andreas Gilman feeling right now, knowing that there's such a small gap?
There's an immense amount of pressure on the shoulders, and some drivers deal with that better than others. Let's just say that. Perhaps the ones with the more experience, you know, they've seen it all before, been in these situations before. They know and have their strategies to deal with it. I mean, back when I did a lot of oval racing, I was in championship fights myself in the sort of the UK trucks and Xfinity sort of scene, I guess. This was years and years ago now. And it was crazy. Like, before the race, you know, I'm the type of person to get anxious before a big event, but when that event is actually happening, I'm completely clear-headed. I mean, that's applied to my commentary gigs as well. And it was kind of the same situation there. I was nervous wreck beforehand, but as soon as it was go time, then it was kind of like every other race. But that's just my personal experience. These drivers might have different feelings towards it. I think you've got to stay rational, stay logical, and not let the emotions or the anxiety get the best of you. That's probably my best advice.
You've got to do what you've done all season, haven't you?
Yeah.
You can't change how you're driving just because you're leading the championship, because we've seen it time and again, haven't we, that people who get tense, who do end up like that, they end up losing their championship.
Yeah, and it's tough to do. It is really tough. You know, if you're not able to stay clear-headed into these races, you're gonna make mistakes under pressure, or at least are more likely to make those sorts of mistakes under pressure. It's never a nice feeling at all, because you might look back on whatever incident you got yourself involved in and just think, if this was a normal race with lower stakes, I would have never done that. I would have never made that mistake. I would never have gone for that hopeful move. And it is quite disheartening looking at it afterwards, just saying, why can't I just have raced the way I normally do?
Absolutely. We've got about 40 seconds before the start of the second race of the evening. One thing of note with this Silverstone National Circuit is that there's only 2 left-handers on this course. That's Maggots and that's Brooklands. The rest are right-handers, so the drivers are going to very much favour offsetting their setup, aren't they? Almost like oval racing. Yeah,
exactly. We back in the oval, we did that with the cambers a lot as well. We might run stiffer suspension on one side compared to the other, and we have a very asymmetric geometry with regards to the setup, because it's an asymmetric track basically. I mean, we have run more positive cast on the right side than the left side, because again, it was only left turns, and having it in that configuration helped the car get into the turn a little bit better. So maybe the guys here have setups that maybe not identical to that, but at least similar in that they're not exactly symmetrical on both sides.
Absolutely. Well, we are going to be set for the second race of the evening. That means that we will go through our starting grid, which is a full reverse of the positions of race number 1. So it is Martin Shirley for RD Simsport. Starts from pole position. Alongside him is Andy Shield. Magic Sakovic on the second row. Alongside him, Damon Mulqueen. The first of your pros, Jake Blackhall, is in 5th place on row number 3, alongside AM Championship leader Andreas Gilman for Impulse Racing, starting 6th. 7th place is the fast-starting Craig Williams in his Audi. He'll be looking to get ahead of Gilman at the start of this race to try and eke away at that championship lead. Dan Martin starts alongside Craig on row number 4. The 5th are on the grid, David Baker and Wojciech Savinovic. They will carry on their battling from the previous race. Then Ross McFarlane, your Pro Championship leader, starting on row number 6 alongside him. Sindre Setsource, right at the back of the grid. Jack Sedgwick, for the What's Cooking by CSS team, he'll be looking to get a good start and then force his way through. The difference between this race and the last race is that with that full inversion, drivers are going to have to try and charge through, and that's where the instant points can be picked up, Connery.
Yeah, absolutely. This is really going to be probably one of the more sketchy races here today, unless things remain similarly close coming into the very final race of the day, and which would be the final race of this season, where we will get to crown a champion afterwards. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting. Going to be very interesting for the drivers. Look at the track conditions there. 29 degrees Celsius on circuit, mostly cloudy conditions, as we're just past noon here at Silverstone for our second to last race of the season.
It's round number 35 of the World Touring Car Series. Drivers look to the starter's gantry, and we're underway, and it's a good start from Martin Shirley. Immediately blocks off the inside from Andy Scheel in towards Copse Corner, and they go through there. Williams has got the jump on Gilman at the start of the race. He's up, although Gilman's fighting this one back. They're side by side. There you see them, your two AM Championship protagonists. Just 7 points separate the two of them. Blackhall's run just a little bit wide. Gilman's looking to make some moves on Blackhall, but we're going 2 by 2 down the field here. Gilman, crucially, is ahead of Williams. That's important for his AM Championship. And Sakovic round the outside of Martin Shirley. Not going to make that move at Brooklyn, so Shirley is going to hold on to the lead for the time being. And it's a whole stack up of cars through Luffield Corner for the first time in this second race. We've got another 20 minutes of this to go. At the line, it's Martin Shirley who leads. Andy Scheel second, ahead of Maciej Sakovic. Damon Mulqueen fourth, and then Gilman, Williams, Blackhall's down 2 places on that opening lap, as he's actually side by side with Craig Williams right now. A little bit of tyre smoke coming through Copse Corner. Mulqueen is dropping down as we're going into the Maggots and Beckett section once again. Now, this is absolutely fascinating, Connery.
Yeah, it is. We've got all AM drivers ahead of all pro drivers. Look at that on the left-hand side of your screen. Not something that you usually see. Mulqueen and Williams actually are fighting here at the moment, as Williams trying to hold on around the outside here, as Mulqueen's going to get a little bit unstable on the insides there. Now the outside for Luffield, as you can see the big stack up behind, 3 wide with some of your pro drivers right at the very back of the fields here. McFarlane, Setzel, Sedgwick all involved in that fight for last, but it's some of your best drivers in the field.
And they're struggling to move forward here. You would have imagined that they would have got forward there. Crucially for Sedgwick, he's ahead of Setsource and McFarlane. Dan Martin's having a look on David Baker through Copse Corner. My goodness, this is tight, this is tense, this is fast, frenetic action. That's why we love it in touring car racing. Into Beckett's once again. They go through the right-hander. Savinovic bullies his way past Damon Mulqueen, who's at the first of the AMs just dropping back. And now they're looking forward, Blackhall and Savinovic. It's Williams and Gilman. They've not progressed forward as much as they would have liked to. Well, Mulqueen's out of shape. I think he got a tap from behind from Martin. And into Luffield once again, and McFarlane's having to make some moves. Sedgwick's bumping as well. Oh, this is all getting a bit tense. Mulqueen, he said, you know what, chaps? You have it. I'm getting out of this.
I don't really blame him at all. He saw happening behind him. He hasn't had a good start either. And it's just kind of letting cars through at this stage, cycling all the way to the back of the field. But look at that, still wheel to wheel out of Copse Corner. Baker trying to make his way through on Martin here, and he will be just about clear in towards Brooklands there. trying to follow through in Sedgwick's tyre tracks. McFarlane a little bit slower than the rest of them to try and get his way through this field here, which is not exactly ideal. There's the front of the field where he was scared, surely got a slow down penalty there, but no, you just had an alternate line, you're just returning back to the normal racing line, excuse me, into Brooklands, as Shields now trying to get the plate stun on the cars behind, and well, Shield up into second, I guess.
Yeah, Shields second ahead of Sakovic, but oh, Gilman's run a bit wide. That's going to allow Craig Williams the opportunity to look at the inside at Woodcote through that last corner, heading towards Cops Corner again. Oh my goodness, this could have big connotations in the AM Championship. They're absolutely neck and neck through Cops Corner. Out wide goes Gilman, and Sedgwick, Williams is still there alongside him. He's got Blackhall and Savinovic all over the back of them, and Gilman really late on the brakes into Maggots and Beckett, still keeping a nose in front here. Now Gilman will be praying that those cars in front give him a slipstream, but they don't. They're all concentrating on themselves, Connery, but this battle for 4th place overall is between your two AM Championship leaders.
We'll continue it into Brooklands as well. There's a bit of smoke ahead. Shield is all out of shape. Oh, Gilman goes into the back of him. Gilman gets shouldered out as well. Williams gets through in the clear as it's Blackhall and Cedric trying to bully all these cars through as they've got their Pro Championships to be concerned about. 3 wide and a big cluster across the pit straight.
Oh my goodness, 1st, 2nd and 3rd are as they are, and then it's everybody else. Oh, Gilman's the car in the middle. He's got nowhere to go. There's contact between him and Shield. That's not going to be helping matters for Gilman either. Shield drops down to 12th place in all of that. This has all got a bit frenetic right now. It's all getting a little bit silly, but crucially, Gilman has dropped down to 10th place, whereas Williams, is up there in 3rd. There's Gilman, the bottom left car of that gaggle on your screen right now, and he's got a hard work now to try and move through these drivers, because these are all the pros.
Yeah, but Farland's being boxed in here a little bit as well, as Cedric is clear, basically ahead of these guys. Is 9/10 of a second between Cedric and Blackhall at the moment, as these guys all kind of trip up over each other as McFarlane gets past his teammate there in David Baker. So at least he's got that position under lock and key, basically. But you can see Setsource taking advantage of that, getting his nose to the inside of Baker through Cop's Corner. And now might cause him a bit of an issue into the next section.
Williams right now is on 69 points. Oh, contact! Baker and Setsource! Baker will not be happy about that at all. That was very aggressive. Here comes Williams now on Sakovic into Brooklands. We've seen him be able to carry it around the outside here, give you the inside for Luffield. They both give each other space. Sakovic may be being a little bit too easy on the space. And look at Cedric now, 4th place compared to McFarlane in 7th. That's going to have a big swing of points potentially here if Cedric can keep up this pace.
We've still got over half the race to go though, so I'm not panicking too much here if I'm McFarlane. But it's certainly looking a little bit more concerning by the minute here, as Cedric has been much more able to get himself through the fields than McFarlane was. I mean, we saw him get all blocked up behind just huge battle packs in the last couple of laps. That really has stunted McFarlane's progress. Meanwhile, the complete opposite for Craig Williams, as, like you said, he's 2nd place now. Martin Shirley's still in the lead of this one, by the way, which deserves to be said. Credit where credit's due. He's been able to manage this race well from the front, not allow Sakovic or Shield to get through, who were, the latter which was briefly in 2nd place there. Whether or not he'll put up a good fight against Williams still remains to be seen. But Shirley has done very, very well here, considering the situation.
Williams looking to make the move on Shirley. It'd be great for Martin Shirley to get a good result here in the 2nd race of the evening. 11.5 minutes remaining in this race. It is Shirley from Williams, from Sakovic, Cedric, Blackhall, Savinovic and McFarlane. And you know there's going to be no love lost between Savinovic and McFarlane after what happened in race number 1 of the evening. So don't expect Savinovic to just roll out the red carpet for McFarlane in this one here at this stage of the race. Right now, as Williams looks, Williams very deep into the brakes, into Brooklands, and he does it! He holds the apex, he takes the lead. It's 75 points for a race win here in this championship, and he is right at the front. That's exactly what he needs.
Exactly, and now next on the, next to attempt to head their way through in the RG Sinsport car is Jack Sedgwick. He's had a very, very good race too so far. He's going to angle towards the inside for Copse Corner. Shirley will let him have it. There we go. Sakovic might be able to capitalise on this one as well.
Yeah, Sakovic and that Team Mad Honda Civic trying to come up alongside. Does he get the move done? Yes, he does. Into the braking zone. Dive into the inside of Jake Blackall now. And Shirley, this is what's happened previously in previous rounds when Shirley's been at the front. He's getting a bit bullied out the way right now. McFarlane will be looking at this going, please, I need the positions here, because I have a funny feeling that Sedgwick will try and get the job done on his teammate of Craig Williams at the front of the field to try and help his championship. So there's Shirley running wide, McFarlane to the inside, almost contact between the two of them, but they stay apart. Through Woodcote they go once again. So McFarlane's going to move to 6th place in this race. That's good for 62 points. So 10 points is the difference now between Sedgwick and McFarlane at this stage of the race.
Yeah, it is. It's looking more and more intriguing by the minute. Meanwhile, Set Source is next to try and get through on Shirley. Dives it down the inside at Beckett's. That's not a problem. And Zad Martin wants to do it on his teammate there in quite swift fashion too.
I must point out, by the way, it'd be a 10 points difference in this race, not in the championship, between Sedgwick and McFarlane as things stand right now. For Gilman and Williams is on 75 right now. Gilman is in 10th place, so he's on 52 points. That's 23 points difference there. There was 7 points difference between them in the favour of Gilman. So if things were to stay as they are now, or even if Sedgwick does make it past Williams is going to take the lead in the AM Championship going into the final round. Yep,
he is. So how it all changes in just a short couple of races in our championship. It's crazy to see. You know, you just can't guarantee anything when we head in towards series finales like this one. It's the two was cooking by CSS cars that are at the very front of the field here at the moment. Williams, the AM, leading on Sedgwick, the Pro. Side by side down in towards Brooklands they go. No team orders in this team, and that is pretty obvious heading their way through the corner there, as Sedgwick's now having to go the long way around on his teammate in the different category here. Look at that, fighting for the race lead. This is what we want to see between two teammates. None of this team order, stay behind or let him pass things.
Well, I'm sorry, but I would be, if I was spotting for Craig Williams, I'd be screaming at him right now, just saying, let him by! You've got the championship lead! Just go! Let him by! No, they're still going to be side by side. Through Cup's Corner, into Maggots and Beckett's once again. I think Sedgwick has just got the edge here, but Williams to the inside. Well, this is absolutely fascinating between the two teammates. I think, almost contact between the two of them. They've got to be careful with that. They don't want to accumulate incident points here. As they go down the Wellington Straight again, Sakovic just can't quite get to them. I get the feeling that Williams, he's trying to hang it around the outside, and Sedgwick is saying, no, I need more points than you, Sunshine.
Trying to maybe prioritise that Pro Championship, but Williams wasn't really having any of it because he wants to have a more comfortable buffer back to Gilman, doesn't he? So he's definitely has a reason to be going for those points over his teammate.
What this has done is it's closed up first through to 8th place, so they're all in a queue of cars. Martin Shirley and Andreas Gilman, they're not far back off of the back of the queue either. Like Gilman, he just needs to get whatever points and whatever places he can pick up. He'd be hopeful of getting past Shirley, but that's not a gimme, is that one. It's through Beckett's once again, onto the Wellington Straight. The laps come thick and fast in this race. And still, Sedgwick at the front. That's 75 points for him. McFarlane is on 62 points in 6th place, so that's going to be 11 points now to the better for Sedgwick over McFarlane in this particular race. That would take him within 17 points of a championship lead. Oh, it's getting tense here, Connery.
Yeah, it really, really is. This is what we'd like to see for the final round of the season. And believe it or not, we have another race after this one. So this is not going to be the end of the action here after 5.5 minutes. We'll have to do this all again, so things can change again. And very, very quickly indeed once we get into that third race. I mean, it can happen even at the end of this one, as we see Savinovic and Blackall get very, very close in towards Maggots and Beckett's. There goes Savinovic. Oh!
Set Sauce with the opportunistic move on McFarlane. That's got the Audi ahead of McFarlane here. Andreas Gilman has gained a place into 9th. I can see in the background of that shot, but it's Set Sauce and McFarlane. That's the one to be focused on here, side by side down the Wellington Straight. He saw an opportunity, did Sindri. We saw that he got the move done. Oh, there's contact between the two. McFarlane is half around. He gets back running, but he's got Gilman behind him now. But that's definitely going to be looked at. I can guarantee you on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, McFarlane. This is the last thing he needed as far as championship is concerned. Losing yet more positions. Hopefully he doesn't have as much damage on that car as a result. It was a little bit of a tap, so unless it was in the complete wrong place, like directly on towards the wheel, he should be fine. But you never want to see that.
That's almost a carbon copy of what happened between McFarlane and Savinovic in the first race, isn't it? Yeah. Going for a gap that was always closing, and contact was made. Let's have a look then. Here we go. So Set Sauce is behind, and he's just looking. Oh. Yeah, I'm sorry, Sindri. You never making that move. Never. Back out of it.
Yeah, he's got it. I mean, you can see this is the typical move here. To try and hang it around the outside and dive down in, but there was just not space. There was no open door there for him to try and stick his nose in. He might have had a tiny little over that, but nothing significant, and it just ends in that. And like you said, we've seen that multiple times already this race.
Yeah, this evening there has been that incident happen. Well, at the front, it is still Jack Sedgwick who leads this one by about 0.3 of a second over his teammate Craig Williams. I mean, things could not go any better for Craig Williams right now where he is. Magic Sakovic for Team Mad is in 3rd place ahead of his fellow driver from Poland, Wojciech Savinovic, in 4th. The Semper Racing driver will be looking to try and get onto the podium here. Will Wojciech, after what happened in the first race. Blackall 5th ahead of Set Sauce there. Martin's ahead of McFarlane. And there's a decent gap between Martin and McFarlane, so Ross will be feeling very aggrieved at that contact between him and Sindri Set Sauce. I've been on the angry end of Ross McFarlane. It's not pleasant.
Yeah, absolutely, and he must be absolutely fuming at this stage due to that incident. He had nothing really to do with it. It's one for the stewards afterwards, but the stewards can't give him back his lost points, can they? That's just the situation.
That's a very good point that you make there. Yes, they give a penalty to the person who caused the contact, potentially, but it doesn't get you those positions back. It doesn't get you those points back. Savinovic trying everything that he can to get around Magic Sakovic. And Jake Blackall, well, he's having a sniff of things here. Sindri Set Sauce as well is getting involved. Sakovic a little bit now, acting like the cork in the bottle. Wojciech though to the outside into Cop's corner. The two absolutely neck and neck, but still Sakovic just staying ahead. Here comes Blackall trying to get the run on Savinovic. We've got 2 laps remaining in this race. Oh, and Setsos again making contact with a Pure Sims car. Well, I'm sorry, Sindre, but you've got to make the moves cleanly.
Yeah, that was more of a move than a pass there for Setsos. Not the way that we'd like to do things around here, but it is what it is, I guess. But you see an attempt to look there from Savinovic on Sakovic for a podium position there, potentially, but not going to be on just yet. 47 seconds left in this race as they head their way out of Luffield. This is going to be the start of the final lap here of our penultimate round of the season.
Well, if Sakovic can hang on to this 3rd place, it will be his first podium of the season here for the Team Mad driver. So absolutely no bias from this commentator here, but well, he's only got just 5 more corners to go. That's how quick it is here around this track. Sakovic holding that tight line. Savinovic trying to get the run out the corner. Front tyres will be screaming a little bit at this point. They've been pushing them hard. And it's the run down the Wellington straight now. Sakovic, will he hold his line? He's holding it for the time being. Into Brooklands for the final time. Doesn't look like there's going to be any switch between the two. So look to the front, because Jack Sedgwick is going to be 2 from 2 here. The Was Cooking by CSS driver is a race winner once again in round 35 of the championship. Jack Sedgwick takes 2 from 2 tonight. He takes victory for that Was Cooking by CSS team. Craig Williams, crucially for him in his AM championship, takes 2nd place, and that'll be the AM championship lead for him in this race. And Maciej Sakovic, first podium for him, an AM driver on the podium for the first time here for Team Mad, so he'll be delighted with that performance as well. But the big talking point, Connery, is those 2, I won't use moves, I'll use punts from Sindre Setsos. First on your championship leader Ross McFarlane, second one on the name has just completely gone from me there for a second. Then it was one of your drivers who finished further down, Jake Blackall, of course. Yeah. It was 2 Pure Sims cars.
Yeah, so Pure Sims are not going to be happy with Setsos here at this stage. It's probably fair to say. But yeah, I mean, it's difficult for me to make any sort of comment here, because of course there's the stewards process for a reason. But yeah, that was fool me once, shame on it's fool me twice sort of situation. It's like when you do it the first time, you're like, oh yeah, cool, might have been a misjudgment. But second time, yeah, nah.
And don't forget, on lap 7 of the race, he made contact with the other Pure Sims driver of David Baker.
Yeah.
So it's all 3 Pure Sims cars that Sindre Setsos has made contact with in that penultimate round of the season. Well, let's take a look at the what will be provisional results. I can guarantee you that. But one driver who will not be in doubt is your race winner. Was Cooking by CSS, 1-2 for Jack Sedgwick over his teammate Craig Williams. Great result for Craig in terms of his AM championship battle. Maciej Sakovic able to hang on to that 3rd place. He started in 3rd place in that race. So Team Mad driver finishing 3rd ahead of Wojciech Savinovic. The battered and bruised Sindre Setsos, who looks like he's been in about 3 rounds with Mike Tyson with his car. Dan Martin, Jake Blackall, Ross McFarlane, your Pro Championship leader, all the way down to 8th place after that one. Andreas Gilman then. It's an AM podium, but it's 9th place. That's not good for him at all. That should see Craig Williams take the AM Championship lead after his contact that happened out there. Andy Shield, 10th place. 11th for Martin Shirley, ahead of Damon Mulqueen. And as I said, David Baker, who had contact in lap number 7, he finishes down in 13th. Well, take a breath, Connery, because that was a bit more unfortunately a bit more of what we got used to partway through the season, wasn't it?
Yeah,
from one driver in particular.
It was. Maybe you can understand it given that it's the last race, so maybe the standards will slip a little bit. But it's, but yeah, it's unfortunate. You know, all the other battles were completely fine and some very, very good racing, very respectful racing. Apart from those instances, like we said, but yeah, this has kind of set the stage now for this final race of the season. We have Craig Williams, if our calculations are correct, getting himself up in towards into the AM lead, which is be a very comfortable position to be in. Remember, we don't have any drop rounds in effect for this for these races, plural. So you know, if you have a bad result here, it's gonna count no matter what. So McFarlane's bad result here, well, I mean, 8th place would be a good result for everyone else, but for McFarlane that's going to still count. Gilman's 9th is going to still count as well, so it all factors in. But it's going to be a close run thing now into this final race, and of course, you know, in that McFarlane and Cedric battle, of course, you have the potential investigation from the first race to be affecting it as well. But either way, this is probably the closest that we could have hoped for coming into the very final race.
Yeah, certainly. Again, we're just waiting for the website to update with the championship points to give us confirmation of where we stand going into this final race of the evening. But two drivers who will be disappointed: Ross McFarlane and Andreas Gilman. I think Gilman more so will be more aggrieved by what happened out there earlier on in that race.
Yeah, absolutely. He was in a good position coming into this. He was, you know, leading. He was, you know, doing quite well. Not amazing, but, you know, doing exactly what he needed to do to try and secure the championship. But then having issues like that happen during the second race, it's not ideal, and it's all about how he's going to bounce back in this third race now. It's all or nothing, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got to get the elbows out himself, and within reason.
The benefit is he's starting towards the front now because of the poor result in race 2. So, you know, Williams is going to be behind him for at least the opening portions of the race if all goes well. So, it's probably his best chance to try and bounce back and make sure that points delta is just going to swing even, you know, a couple of points in his favor that might win him the AM championship.
And it's also worth pointing out as well how difficult it was for some of those drivers to work their way through the field, especially in the first half of the race. It was only really around the second half of the race where maybe tyre wear was just getting involved in that with how it felt. But certainly it's not the easiest track to get by. And I mean, little tip of the hat here to my fellow Team Mad teammate, Maciej Sakovic. It's not easy to hold off Wojciech Savinovic and finish in a podium when you're not used to being at that end of the field.
Yeah, it was very well worked for Sakovic. He was basically at the front of the field all day, at least in this particular race, and kind of made it look a bit natural for him. It's almost like he's always been there at the front in all the races this season, despite the reality being different. So, yeah, fantastic stuff. Of course, he's going to get shuffled all the way to the back of the field now, which is not great, but we'll enjoy trying to see him work his way back through potentially, and with potentially some renewed confidence after that podium.
Yeah, certainly we will see how it goes. What it does mean, of course, is that David Baker's going to be starting on pole position for the second race of the evening. For the final race of not only the season but the evening as well. We will step aside for just a few moments, but stick around for the final race of this championship. Welcome then for the final round of the World Touring Car Series here on RaceSpotTV. Paul Smith and Connery Maddock here on commentary once again, and we have got an exciting end to the season. Well, it has been certainly an intriguing first two races of this event, but one more race to go, Connery, and we've had the points updated. 8-point lead between Ross McFarlane and Jack Sedgwick. 12-point lead now, Craig Williams over Andreas Gilman.
Yes, absolutely. This is looking like it's going to be a brilliant final race of the season. I mean, we now have the Pro Championship closer to the Am Championship, which is not what we expected. Coming into today, given that there was a bit more of a rift between the pro drivers coming into this one, but yeah, this is going to be incredible. Of course, we have that full reverse grid once again to factor in. Of course, Gilman from the Am category is going to benefit more from that than his rival of Williams, and of course on the pro side, McFarlane's going to benefit from it more than Sedgwick. So they've been handed sort of like a sort of handicap bonus in this final race at this stage. So it's all about utilizing that now, utilizing the track position for those drivers that are behind in their respective championships. You've got to take this opportunity now, otherwise you're going to lose it all.
Yeah, it all comes down to a final race of the season. It's just how we like our championship fights. Is to go down to the final race of a season, and the best part about it all, Connery, is we don't need to worry about drop scores as well, because that's not taken into account this final week. One thing I do want to mention, I want to say a big thank you to the series sponsors, Bookkicker, who have been on board last couple of seasons and have been supporting the touring cars here on the series. Also FreeM UK, who have been long-time supporters of World Sim Racing now for several years, and Mr. Hedge Sim Photography as well. They're involved, Adam Hedgecott, with his sim photography, fantastic shots that he gets each and every week of this championship. And well, the hard work, it all comes down to just 20 minutes of racing, Connery, and right now, if I'm Ross McFarlane, I'm wanting to just get to the front as quick as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no other way to put it. You know, that's a very simple task when you think about it, but it comes with a whole load of complications when you're in an event such as this one, at such a non-standard circuit, for example. In touring cars, you know, you never know what could possibly happen, but I think every single of these drivers know exactly what they need to do. It's just about the execution now.
Yeah, it certainly is. How you execute is how you go into the annals of the championship, as you can say. Well, you can say that you are a champion once again, or a new champion. Well, the time has almost come here in the World Touring Car Series. Let's take you through your grid for the final time this season. And on the front row of the grid is going to be the Pure Sims esports driver of David Baker. He is going to be starting alongside Damon Mulqueen on the front row of the grid for them two. Martin Shirley and Andy Shield on row number 2, and then look at that, starting side by side, two championship contenders. One who's got a chase on, Andreas Gilman, he's got 12 points to overturn here. Ross McFarlane, he's got an 8-point lead. They start both on row number 3. Row 4 for Jake Blackall, who can maybe pull a bit of a defensive display over some of his rivals. Dan Martin alongside him on 4th row. 5th row, the contentious driver of Sindra Setsource, well, especially after that last race. Wojciech Savinovic sharing row number 5 with him. Maciej Sakovic alongside your new AM Championship leader Craig Williams on row number 6. And then all the way at the back of the grid, Jack Sedgwick. He's got the most work to do. He's got to get past Ross McFarlane, and he's got to also then gain a further 9 points to take the championship win. Well, drivers all getting themselves set. Ross McFarlane, remember, won the first ever season of this championship. It's whether he can do it in the 4th season. Looking at your AMs as well, Craig Williams, he's not been an AM champion, so he's looking to get himself a championship under his belt. But Andreas Gilman, he'll be looking to try and get back to the front of the field in AM. It all comes down to 20 minutes of action. It's round number 36 of the World Touring Car Series here on RaceSpotTV. Revs rise, and we are go at the start. It's a good start from the front row for David Baker. Andreas Gilman's going very defensive very early into Cop's corner. Through they go, and it's ahead of Ross McFarlane. So McFarlane got a decent launch. Jack Sedgwick, Craig Williams have gained 1 place each. They're side by side going into Maggots and Beckett's for the first time. Oh, there's contact! Oh, and Ross McFarlane's involved in all of that. Jake Blackall's dropping down. McFarlane's lost a place. He's now got Setsource behind him. Down the Wellington Straight, he's not going behind him. He's got Setsource alongside him. In fact, in front of him now. And look to this right-hand side. Jack Sedgwick, he's going for a championship win. He's around the outside. He's got the inside here, and Setsource. Oh, that's team tactics right there. Moves right out the way, blocks Ross McFarlane. Well, it's gloves off. It's the final round, Connery, and all the tactics are out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit of a nightmare here for McFarlane, having Setsource just in the wrong place, and there's now it's a bit of a wall of Craig's setup shop related drivers ahead of him here at the moment, which is never a situation he wants to be in. How does he get through on this? He looks to the inside in towards Beckett's here to try and at least get past Williams, but Williams is having none of it. They're going to come close off to the corner here, but this is a bit of an awkward situation now for McFarlane. Cedric has a couple of places on him that he really can't afford to lose. Yes, he has the advantage coming into this round, but it wasn't that big.
It was 8 points between McFarlane and Sedgwick. Where they are right now, Sedgwick is in, 7th place? That would be 60 points. McFarlane in 10th, it would be 52 points. Guess what? That's 8 points.
Yeah.
That would put them absolutely dead heat. It would all come down to a count back towards race wins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Somebody get a pen and paper out and work that one out.
Yeah, we don't have this immediately to hand. Oh, yeah, this is very, very close indeed. And of course, down in AM as well, Gilman with a good couple of positions over Williams. Of course, their gap was about 4 points
12.
bigger than the pro championship was here at this stage. As Andy Shields got slowed down. Oh, he's going to get put back into this pack, isn't he?
He certainly is. In fact, behind them all, he's got out the way there. Oh, there's McFarlane trying to make the move on Williams, and he gets it done. So crucially for McFarlane, there's just one car between him and Jack Sedgwick. That's what he needs to do for the rest of the season. Just shadow Sedgwick. He can sit behind Setsource all he wants. Setsource can play the dirty tactics all he likes, but McFarlane, he just needs to keep his nose clean and be able to run around behind them. That's all he needs to do, but if Cedric makes some moves forward, then he needs to follow, and that's where Setsource could really come into play. Gilman, in the meantime, down the inside. That's going to be a change of place over Martin Shirley for the Impulse Racing driver, and Wojciech Savinovic is going to follow on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Gilman also is going to be very happy about McFarlane getting past Williams here. It's another car in between himself and his championship rivals. It's just a huge cluster of cars as Shirley tries to hold on to positions here, tries to force Savinovic out wide, but Savinovic still has that inside line behind them. You have Cedric and Setsource actually going to wheel to wheel together there in an interesting turn of events.
Now, McFarlane, he's in a tough situation because if he'd followed Sedgwick, Setsos would have just backed off and blocked him. Here we go into Cop's corner, down the inside, Setsos on Shirley. Through he goes, Sedgwick's through. And now McFarlane, so McFarlane's trying to get that move done to stay behind Sedgwick. Sedgwick to the inside of Setsos. You're always going to see Setsos try and be rear gunner here for Jack Sedgwick. He's always going to be running that rear defence to try and keep Ross McFarlane out of a pro championship. But right now, this is what Ross McFarlane needs to do at this point. The problem for Craig Williams here is he's in 8th place. He needs to move forward, but the problem is he's got some big names in front of him.
Yeah, that is the big issue, and it's not one that's going to be easily solved for him, because of course those guys ahead, you know, they're involved by proxy in championship battles in the pro class. So yeah, that is it's a difficult one. It's a very, very difficult one there for Williams, because I guess in the process of him trying to work his way through the field, he doesn't necessarily want to disrupt Sedgwick's chances at his own championship.
Gilman, he needs to get to Damon Mulqueen, and he needs to get into 2nd place, because as things stand right now, if it was to finish as it was, it would be 1 point to the better for Craig Williams over him. Oh, look to the inside from Savinovic. Gilman's gone deep with that one. That's a little mistake from Gilman. He can't afford that. Now to the inside, Gilman's going to hold that line, and here comes Jack Sedgwick involved in all of this. So Sedgwick trying to move forward here. Oh, this is fascinating. This is really tense on the edge of your seat. Gilman's around! Gilman's around! Oh, he's hit the wall! That's the end of the AM Championship! It's going to be Craig Williams who wins it. Oh, we'll have to have a look at that one again, but, well, that was a mess.
Big mess. We'll get the replay lined up here just after we know these guys aren't going to have an imminent fight coming down the Wellington Straight here. That is a big shame for it to end. We'll try and get more of an overhead view on the replay here in just a couple of seconds, because we didn't get a great angle of exactly what happened. Was there a squeeze? Was there a little bit of contact? We don't know at this stage, as these guys go single file through Brooklands and up in towards Luffields. We'll get our view of the incident right about now.
So here we go, looking from above. There is Wojciech Savinovic to his left. Oh, Gilman's come across, I feel. Just from that initial shot there, he's come across on Savinovic. He's expected Savinovic to hold it out all the way to the line here. And yeah, he's just drifted it across it. It's his own mistake.
I don't know what else you can say, really, Paul. Yeah, there was no deviation there for Savinovic. She was just holding the wheel straight down the pit, holding the wheel straight down the pit straight, and unfortunately, it was the other car that moved across.
It's heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking for Andreas. He's done a fantastic job all season long, and yeah, it all comes to an end. So what that does mean is it doesn't matter what happens to Craig Williams now in terms of a championship, because he's won the AM Championship, unless he goes and does something silly and wipes out Ross McFarlane in front of him. Yeah, absolutely. That could have been both championships over in one instant, potentially. Big moves and connotations there. So Jack Sedgwick is in 3rd right now. That gives him 69 points at the head of this gaggle of cars. Ross McFarlane in 6th. That gives him 62 points. That's 7 points the difference. Right now, Ross McFarlane is still winning that Pro Championship by a single point. Sedgwick needs to get the move on and needs to get ahead of Damon Mulqueen for him now to get a championship.
Well, his pace is looking decent. I think he's more slowed down by the fact that Surdovic is following so closely that he's not quite able to focus on pulling in those quali-esque laps, shall we say. We'll see what the lap times are coming across the line. It was 1 minute 0.6 for Baker, 1 minute 0.8 for McQueen, a 1 minute 5 for Cedric.
Yeah.
So that's more like it. It might take a couple of laps to get onto the back, but at least it's forward progress.
Don't write off this championship yet. It's had plenty happen. McFarlane's trying to make a move on set source there, by the way. He's ducked back in behind. Craig Williams could very well be the one who does the favour for his teammate right now. If he can make the move on Ross McFarlane and get ahead of him for the end of the race, that would give Jack Sedgwick the championship and give both Us Cooking by CSS drivers the championships in Pro and Am in this race as well. Don't forget, in the Pro Am Teams Championship, they've already got that one sewn up.
Yeah, indeed they do. So it's looking like a pretty good day so far, but everything can change inside these final 10 minutes. You never know, especially given how close Savinovic is running Cedric here at the moment. He doesn't really care about championships, he just wants to get himself on the podium.
Yeah, he certainly does here in this one. This has been the fascinating one, and there's McFarlane making the move on set source. He's got to be wary of Sindrake now. He doesn't want to get involved in anything silly. Doesn't want to have himself out of the race because of him being the aggressor. But into Brooklyn's a go, and he's also got to be careful of that Was Cooking by CSS car behind of Craig Williams. He doesn't want to give him the opportunity to make a move on Ross going into the stages. We're into the second half of the race. Still David Baker and Damon Mulqueen at the front. Jack Sedgwick, though, is slowly gaining on them drivers. He was 0.3 of a second quicker that last lap over the front two. So he's gaining. He's got taking Wojtek Savinovic, he's taking Sindre Setsols, Ross McFarlane and Craig Williams, Dan Martin at the back of this queue as well.
Yeah, and I get the feeling McFarlane's feeling the need to press the issue here with Setsols, because you might be thinking he'll have a points penalty hanging over his head from race 1. Of course, you know, that is only a factor, like you said, if it's actually protested, but you just can't take anything for granted here at the moment. I think McFarlane's thinking, okay, I need at least something to try and cover for that, just in case I do get the bad end of the stick on that.
So, as they head on through, I'm just looking back at the calendar, looking at race winners as well, to try and get a bit of a count back done. So I make it to be Ross McFarlane has got 11 victories in this season. I'll have to have a look through at Sedgwick as well, but certainly it's not over yet. Contact between the two of them. All concertina's up. McFarlane's got damage to the front of his car. He'll be slightly affected now, top speed wise, down this straight.
Yeah, you saw the damage just pop in a little bit. Of course, you know, sometimes that sort of resolves itself as the server sort of tries to work everything out and agree who has what damage. So you can see it sometimes repair itself a second or two afterwards. But yeah, that's, again, you can't be cutting it that close if you're McFarlane, and hopefully if he has any damage, that it is pretty minor for the championship's sake. But look at this, aggressive on set source, at least a big look in towards Cobb's Corner.
It's 7 race wins, including the ones today, for Jack Sedgwick. So if it did go to a count back, it would be Ross McFarlane's. So Sedgwick needs to outscore McFarlane here to get a clear victory in this championship. But Setsols was looking at the back of Savinovic. He wanted to make the move on him, and then McFarlane thought, well, I want a piece of the action as well in all of this. It's such a tight, tense affair is this one. Again, 2.5 tenths were caught by Cedric last lap on the front two. So Baker and Mulqueen are getting reeled in a bit. And if you're Ross McFarlane, you're hoping that Damon Mulqueen pulls out the defensive display of a lifetime right now. If Cedric does get there.
Yeah, of course, there's still not a guarantee. Cedric has been making very, very good progress, though. It's on the order of a good
2.5 tenths.
Yeah, 2.5 tenths that time around. So it's good. He'll be on the back of Mulqueen by the end of this race, that's for certain. It's just, like you said, a matter of how hard Mulqueen defends here. Does he just sort of let the championship contender go? Does he fight for position? You know, that is what we have to be thinking about here.
Ross McFarlane needs to force the agenda now, and he needs to move past set source. That's easier said than done. Given that what happened in race number 2 of the evening, round 35, McFarlane will be a little bit wary if he did make it past set source in having him behind. Cedric has caught Mulqueen now. Cedric is there with Mulqueen. If Cedric gets past Mulqueen and Ross McFarlane can't get past set source, then it's going to be Cedric who takes the championship.
Yeah, I'm looking closely at McFarlane's car, and there does seem to be front-end damage that remains after that incident, and actually you can see the damage to the back at set source where that nose had been. So set source with a bit of rear-end damage, McFarlane with a bit of front-end damage. Let's see if that all equals out. It looks like they're still able to keep on pace here, so I don't think it's affecting them, either of them, too much. But we'll have to see if it affects this, you know, in a side-by-side battle, so to speak, between the two, because they're in the slipstreams at the moment, of course, aren't they?
I'd love to be on board right now with Cedric. I would love to see the different lines that he's taking to be able to try and get the move done on Damon Mulqueen in front. Remember, Mulqueen is your leading AM in this race. Started on the front row of the grid, him and David Baker. Is Cedric going to make a move into Copse corner? I don't think he will. I think what he'll look for is the run out of Copse. Oh, look at the back end of that Elantra. Actually helped him a little bit out of there. Gets the better run, does Mulqueen, over Cedric. Catching is one thing, passing is quite another. Oh, into the braking zone. This is tense because we're 4 laps to go. Well, 3.5 laps to go at this stage. Down the Wellington Straight. Again, remember, this is for a potential Pro Championship for Jack Cedric. Looking to the inside. Mulqueen's not fighting it. Mulqueen's not fighting it. Cedric is going to take second place, and he's going to take the Pro Championship lead. Ross McFarlane, what he needs now is he needs Mulqueen to start dropping down to his level to get past him so that he can then get those championship points for 5th place.
The next couple of moments are going to be so important here. Does Mulqueen fall to the back of the pack and let the other drivers get on with it, or is he just going to be stuck there, being a bit of a nuisance for everyone else behind? He's well within his rights to do either option, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair to him, he knows his battle, and it's not with these drivers. Does Damon? He's had a rotten season as Damon, running a tribute livery to his grandfather as well, who sadly passed away earlier this year. So he wants to finish off the season with a high, but again, Savinovic looking to the inside, and again, it's not a fight. Mulqueen's deciding that's not his fight. He just wants to take an AM victory here as he's ahead of Set Source and McFarlane. We have got at the line 2 laps remaining in this season. Ross McFarlane needs to gain positions now. That's all he needs to do right now, is gain those positions.
At least one. that's the thing. Just one, either over Set Source or over Mulqueen. It doesn't matter which one here. At least it's got to be one of them. As Mulqueen, he's taking a defensive line in towards Beckett's there. A little bit of front to rear contact between Set Source and McFarlane again. as they do have a history of that now. On the way down in towards the Wellington Straight, is Mulqueen going to move out of the way for yet another car on this lap? It's been on average 1 car a lap that he's let go. That won't work for McFarlane.
I don't know whether Setsols actually wants to make that move, though. That's the thing. McFarlane needs 1 spot.
Oh.
If he gets 1 spot, he'll be equal on points with Cedric down the inside at Luffield. That's a brave move from McFarlane. He saw the opportunity. They're going to be side by side as they start the final lap. There's a rub of door handles. McFarlane's not happy. Oh, there's even more contact between the 2 of them. Into Copse corner now. 3 abreast. Into Copse corner. It's out of it now. Here comes Craig Williams. He could get involved in all this championship shenanigans. He's got to be careful himself, not getting any penalties for his championship. But it's Setsols and McFarlane. This is going to decide the Pro Championship between these 2. McFarlane's got ahead. He can let Setsols pass.
Yeah.
He's got ahead of Mulqueen. He's got that position he needed. Let Setsols go, but he doesn't know that in the car. Here he comes then, into the penultimate corner, round the outside. Don't get involved in any shenanigans. Oh, contact between the 2 of them. Through Luffield they go. It's neck and neck at the line. Who's going to take it? Well, David Baker's going to take the win at the end, but we're going to focus here because Baker, can he hold off Jack Cedric at the line? Well, never mind that, because who's going to finish in 4th place? It's going to be McFarlane. McFarlane takes the Pro Championship at the very death.
That is crazy, that entire sequence there. Oh, that was crazy stuff for the final couple of laps. McFarlane, he didn't have to do it, well, he did it the complicated way, didn't he? It wasn't a simple race for him to run. Yes, he was holding the advantage coming into it. Cedric would have loved that position to get ahead of David Baker just to make things a little bit closer at the end and potentially seal it for him. But in the end, it's Pure Sims out on top. Oh.
Ross McFarlane, he won the first ever season of this championship. He finishes it off as champion of Pro here in this last round of the championship, and this is how he did it. My goodness, that was of them.
This is crazy stuff. He was lucky he has the inside for Woodcut there, otherwise I think Setsols might have got it over him. Oh boy, crazy, crazy stuff indeed. And
I didn't like the squeezing and the bumping down the straight at the start of the last lap between the 2 of them. That was unnecessary. And don't forget, well, we're saying he's a champion. We've got to wait to see how incident points affect things as well, because that could change things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we
Craig
saw McFarlane get, the front end contact. That would have been a 4X potentially.
Yeah.
So we do have to hold the phone a little bit, but either way, provisionally he's got it. But we'll have to see what happens afterwards.
Right. It is going to be provisional race results, but let's find out then how things stand at the end of that crazy, crazy season. Wow. Take a breath. David Baker, we barely mentioned him in that last race. From lights to flag, he took the race win, and well, he takes the final race win of this championship here for Pure Sims Esports in his Honda. Just finishing at 0.124 ahead of the Was Cooking by CSS driver of Jack Cedric. If Cedric had have got that at the end, my goodness, I don't think my heart would have taken it. Wojciech Savinovic for Semper Racing, 3rd place. Good podium for him in the end, ahead of Ross McFarlane, who provisionally will get confirmation, and of course is pending any final protests and stewards' decisions. And don't forget, there was that contact in race 1 for McFarlane and Savinovic. Provisionally, McFarlane is your champion for Pure Sims Esports. Sindre Setsource in 5th, ahead of his compatriot Craig Williams, who takes the AM win. Not just an AM win, though, it's the AM Championship. Congratulations to Craig Williams for getting the AM Championship here in this one. Damon Will Queen, just wasn't able to quite hold on to get an AM win, but gets 2nd place for the New Zealander. He finishes in 7th place, ahead of Dan Martin, Jack Blackhall and Andy Shield. Magic Sakovic was not able to move forward in that field in that final race. Martin Shirley dropped down to 12th, and Andreas Gilman did not finish the race. We have had points updated. Thank you very much to the series admins, everyone who worked behind the scenes at World Sim Racing, but especially Andy Shield tonight, having to do a double duty of driving and sorting out points and sorting out the sessions. He's had his hands full today, so fair credit to him. He's given us the final championship points. Let's go through YAMs just to clarify YAMs to start with. Craig Williams does indeed win the championship by 72 points over Andreas Gilman in the end there. Incredible season in the AM Championship. We thought going into this week that was going to be the closest fight, didn't we, Connery, between those two?
Yeah, we did. But how wrong we were. how wrong we were. Of course, it ended in a way that we never want to see these things to end, with an incident. And to make it worse, it was an incident of Gilman's own doing, which, that'll take a while to recover from, I think, for Andreas. It's very, very tough one to take that. But I mean, that's just what the pressure's like in the final race of the season. You do stuff that potentially you would never normally do on a normal race day, and it's just a big shame.
It is a big shame, but congratulations though. Was cooking by CSS. They've had a tremendous season, getting the Pro-Am Championship and the AM Drivers Championship for them. Now, the Pro Drivers Championship. It's important that Ross McFarlane did get that position in the end over Sindre Setsource, because incident points did come into play. It was a single point, a solitary point between Ross McFarlane for Pure Sims Esports and Jack Sedgwick for Was Cooking by CSS. After everything that has happened this season, a single point is what decides it.
What's with us and single points in championships at the end of a season? Because this is like the 3rd or 4th time it's happened now. Oh boy, wow. So those battles at the end really did matter, didn't they? Because I thought it was kind of sealed up as soon as McFarlane got Possible Queen, but good job that you really tried to get for the extra position there, because otherwise we'd be talking about a completely different story right now. Yeah. Oh boy, that is crazy stuff. What else can you say, Paul? What else? It's incredible. That's why we love motorsport.
Yes, absolutely. Whether it's real or virtual, the racing is real. Yeah. That is for sure. Sindre Setsource does finish 3rd in the end in the championship on 69 points back from the leader. Worth pointing out, I didn't mention him, Martin Shirley for RD Sim Sport finished 3rd in AM, so he gets himself a 3rd place in AM Championship. So congratulations to the RD Sim Sport driver for securing that place over Andy Shield. So tremendous stuff. We are just sort of killing a little bit of time just to see if anybody does want to come and speak to us, but it's
they haven't done so far this season, so
no, absolutely not. We'll give it a minute or two to go, but for me, this season, I think it's been a tale of frustration. Especially after past the halfway point in the season, it got a bit messy in the championship. But Brands Hatch at Donington Park were really, really good rounds, and these drivers showed what they can do when they put their minds to it.
Yeah, and those just so happened when we had the smaller grids, right? Because so I think there's maybe something to be said about smaller grids potentially having better racecrafts, because if you're just one person out of 60, 55th place versus 56th place is not really really significant. So you can be guilty in the fact of thinking of just, oh, these positions don't matter, so therefore I'm just going to race everyone, you know, in a silly way. So yeah, that's definitely one of the things to consider potentially for the future, where we would have a potentially, this is personal opinion, by the way, this is not opinion of anyone else or any sign of things to come, but personally, I would consider having a smaller but better quality grid as more exciting than a massive but with a grid but with varying skill levels that clash, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You certainly put it succinctly, but right. Anyway, what we will do is we are running out of time here on the broadcast. Nobody's coming to speak to us, so we'll wrap everything up and say thank you, everybody. So everybody who has competed in this championship, thank you to the series sponsors, of course, Bookkicker, to Pure Sims as well. They're involved with organising things in terms of World Sim Racing organisation themselves. You've also got FreeM UK, Mr. Hedge, Sim Racing Photography involved as well. Everybody who's worked on the broadcasts as well, Connery, Cameron Roger, who was here for the start of the season, to everyone behind the scenes at RaceSpotTV, Hugo Luis, Dame Baird as well, who has been involved in organising things and getting things for us on production as well. But from myself, Paul Smith, thank you so much for joining us here for this season. And until the next time that we speak to you, well, it'll be Monday night for me for the World GT Championship finale. But from everybody here at RaceSpotTV, it's goodbye.